this is what I was talking about. Like, the moment you see someone trying out your culture, you cannot feel anything but joy.
Yeah.
Because a culture is something you're raised in, right?
Yeah.
And when you see someone from a completely different background trying your shit, dude, it's heartwarming. It's heartwarming. Like, we as Slavic people, our culture is drinking and then traditional dances with traditional clothing.
Yeah.
Like, to me, if I see someone who is not Slavic trying out our dances, trying out our clothing, like traditional clothing, I'm gonna be amazed by it. I'm gonna be amazed by it. Like, I would want to go up to that person and talk to them. Not to complain, but to understand why they do it out of sheer curiosity. And when they tell me, I would be filled with happiness.
At the end of it, it really is a learning exchange.
Yeah.
Because you learn about them, they learn about you. It's the most human thing that you can do.
Yeah. Like, you know what's the funniest thing? Whenever people go to, like, Sahara, and they put out the traditional clothes that you should put out in Sahara, no one's complaining.
Yeah.
Maybe because you're gonna die from the sun. Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's still cultural appropriation, right?
Yeah.
Because you're trying their clothes without having their culture. Doesn't that sound funny?
It doesn't sound funny. It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. Hola.
Hola, amigo.
Me amo Dora di Explora.
Oh, qu'est-ce que es mapadora? Ah.
No, but two gringos are gonna talk about cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
And we're gonna take a look at a video that's been out on the internet for a very long time.
Yeah, but we're not just getting to it because, well, we use Internet Explorer basically.
We're behind our times.
We're old fucks. Please forgive us for being old fucks. This is Students versus Mexican Cultural Appropriation by Prager University, which on the record, I'm not even ashamed to admit it. I hate Prager University. They have the dumbest takes. This is alright.
Yeah, well, let's see.
Let's see, true. Let's not foreshadow.
Hola amigos, this is Will Witt with PragerU. Today we're at UCLA talking to college students and on Olvera Street talking to Hispanics in honor of Halloween and to see if my outfit is offensive. Dang it. Would you guys like to chat with us today? No? That's what we want to talk to you about. Hola. You find my outfit offensive?
Just, yeah.
You find it offensive? Do you find it offensive?
Maybe a little.
Do you think my outfit is offensive?
Are you Mexican?
No.
Yes.
I think it reaffirms stereotypes that are offensive to people.
You think people really think Mexican people are like this and carry around marachas?
No, I don't think people actually think that.
Do you find my outfit offensive?
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
Because it's not your culture?
You know what's funny to me? How is the people that don't know, well, some of them do know their, like, ethnicity, but most of them just don't know the difference between cultural appropriation and appreciation.
Yeah.
As a guy from the Balkans, whenever I see someone who's not from my country, if they try to copy my culture, I'm more than happy. Because someone is spreading love for my culture that they don't have to. They literally don't have to. So it's funny to me how students get mad, and most of them, or I think none of them, of the students are actually Mexican. So it's just funny to see that.
You know, like, I hate the term cultural appropriation.
Same.
It's probably the worst term ever because I only hear it used in an urban environment. Now, why do I explicitly say an urban environment? Because in an urban environment, sure, there's a lot of opportunities for, like, cultural events, manifestations, what have you. But most of the time, the only, like, culturally significant events that you can have and partake in an urban environment is, like, going to the bar, maybe watching the game on the TV, discussing about it. And that's, like, the extent of culture.
Yeah.
But that's not the only part of culture. There's so much more. And when you actually start delving deeper into culture, into the music, the cuisine, the art, even the beliefs, some of the rituals, you start getting an understanding for it.
Yeah. And you know what's even funnier? At least according to me, the biggest cultural appropriation is speaking the language. because the culture is based on the language. So you have YouTubers like Xiaoma, the guy from New York who speaks millions of languages, Laoma, Moses, who passed away, like people who speak so many languages that they shouldn't be speaking are accepted wholeheartedly by the people who are native to that language. And that is cultural appropriation, right?
Yeah.
By the terms of it.
Yeah.
So, how is it okay if you try to speak a language? That's totally fine. If you like their food, totally fine. But if you like the way they dress, if you like their music, if you like, I don't know, something that's specific to a certain culture, then you're not supposed to do it.
Yeah. Like, I'm probably gonna sound like a psychoanalytical kook for saying the next thing, but I only hear the word cultural appropriation being thrown around in America,
Yep.
and like spaces that are heavily influenced by America, like TikTok, for example. Because I think that's just the American mentality, subconsciously rejecting their like late stage capitalism. Because in late stage capitalism, everything is being marketed, and the worst thing you can do to culture is to market it, to market the experiences, to market everything that basically is a milestone of that culture. And from that aspect, I get it. Like, they're rebelling. No, you shouldn't cultural appropriate, because they're expecting that, okay, you're going to want to sell this, you're going to want to make money out of this. But most of the people who try out things for different cultures don't do it for money. Yeah. Most of them actually even costs money to try that thing out. But you still do it because for the pleasure, to learn something new, to experience something new.
And this is funny because I'm sure you know Bold and Bankrupt, the Englishman.
Yeah.
Like, whenever he travels to another country, the locals want him to dress in their clothes. The locals want him to try out their tradition.
Yeah.
So, most of the time you see cultural appropriation is by people who have nothing with that culture.
Yeah.
So, I just find it hilarious.
Cultural appropriation? Why do you say that?
Because you're not like Mexican.
You think Mexican food is like cultural appropriation?
No.
Someone else's culture that we've kind of taken. Is this cultural appropriation? No comment.
You don't really understand what their culture means and what it means to wear these things, like the hats and the maracas. You know, you sort of have to understand where all of this comes from for it to not be cultural appropriation.
It's not yours.
Can I just ask you, do you like my costume?
I like your mustache. More play.
Does my outfit offend you?
You look no. You look nice.
Thank you. Do you like my costume?
Yes.
Does it offend you?
No. No, nothing. That's good.
This is what I was talking about. Like, the moment you see someone trying out your culture, you cannot feel anything but joy.
Yeah.
Because a culture is something you're raised in, right?
Yeah.
And when you see someone from a completely different background trying your shit, dude, it's heartwarming. It's heartwarming. Like, we as Slavic people, our culture is drinking and then traditional dances with traditional clothing.
Yeah.
Like, to me, if I see someone who is not Slavic trying out our dances, trying out our clothing, like traditional clothing, I'm gonna be amazed by it. I'm gonna be amazed by it. Like, I would want to go up to that person and talk to them. Not to complain, but to understand why they do it out of sheer curiosity. And when they tell me, I would be filled with happiness.
At the end of the day, it really is a learning exchange.
Yeah.
Because you learn about them, they learn about you. It's the most human thing that you can do.
Yeah. Like, you know what's the funniest thing? Whenever people go to, like, Sahara, and they put out the traditional clothes that you should put out in Sahara, no one's complaining.
Yeah.
Maybe because you're gonna die from the sun. Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's still cultural appropriation, right?
Yeah.
Because you're trying their clothes without having their culture. Doesn't that sound funny?
It doesn't sound funny. It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
Me guapo?
Beautiful.
Acaba. Are you guys insulting me? Insulting me in Spanish? Do you like my outfit?
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Does my outfit offend you?
No, not at all.
Some people get offended by what I'm wearing.
No, it's not offensive. I think it's you're in the right atmosphere. Lo único dice de mostacho, no original.
No original. Do you know who sold me this?
No idea.
Mexicans.
Oh, really?
So you're white and you get offended, but then Mexican people who sold me this and made me this don't get offended.
Yes.
Seems kind of weird, doesn't it?
I love it, actually.
You think it's offensive?
No, not at all.
Some people get really offended by this. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, just you're not Mexican, so people think that you have to be Mexican to wear that.
I'm celebrating Mexico.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Are you Mexican?
I am.
See?
I'm not wearing it.
See? Well, that's okay. Maybe we should swap outfits.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
A Mexican student
Yeah.
loves it because it's his culture. He knows what it means, and it's wonderful to see someone else do it. Like, why is there such a fuss about this? I really don't understand.
That's why, like, at the point you mentioned urbanites, because only urbanites who don't partake in any cultural activities think a cultural appropriation exists.
Yeah.
No, you just aren't cultured.
You know what's funny? When you go to a city, when you travel, you see these cultural shops everywhere. For example, in our country, you can find those traditional shoes, right? You can find traditional accessories. When you go to the Netherlands, you can find those wooden, what were they called again? Those things. Yeah,
I know
those
those
things.
words, not the English one, okay.
Same. But you can find their traditional stuff. When you go to Greece, you can find their traditional stuff. And they're placed there for tourists. Because people want you, when you go to a country, they want you to experience the culture. So, I really don't understand how that's a problem here. I really don't.
What's up, guys? This is Will Witt with PragerU. Today we're at the Navajo Nation and we're talking to people today about political correctness, issues facing their community and their culture. Let's do it. Do you find the name Washington Redskins, is that offensive to you?
I don't think so. In my personal opinion, no. I am a Washington Redskins fan.
I don't think it's terrible, because the Redskins actually came down last year with our Native American people and taught them how to do football, the little kids,
I don't find it offensive. Someone came to me and called me a Redskin to my face. Hey, it's my fault for letting that hurt me. I believe as Navajos and as Native Americans, we have larger issues to deal with than name calling.
That's a very stoic position of him, and I find it quite admirable. Like, a lot of people don't know that lesson in life. Like, words aren't inherently offensive. The only offense that can be found is within you.
Yeah. And it's funny that it's about Navajo and the Dina, because you personally know that I am in love with the Dina.
Yeah. And the rest is about them.
Yeah.
So.
Like, the first time that I started professionally occupying my free time with the Dina, the Navajo, I have a friend who's Navajo, and I told him that I want to know more about his culture. And I had a lot of false information. And when I was talking to him, he never got mad about it, because he knows I want to learn the culture, and he's there to help me learn it. So this just shows that the only reason why you should be getting mad at someone for trying to, try out your culture is because you don't want them to try your culture. It means that you really don't like your culture.
You're gatekeeping your own culture for
literally,
like, to no avail.
Like, every single person would want someone to experience what they're experiencing. So this is, honestly, so far, I love it.
Yeah.
I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Like I like the Cleveland Indians. I thought that was pretty cool, but some people would say that was like a drunken native on a logo, you know what I mean? But the Redskins, I mean, that's a fighter, you know what I mean? And like, you look at the Apache helicopters, you look at the Navajo code talkers, you see people jumping on airplanes saying Geronimo. So that's just admiration that the American cultures that's adapting and bringing into their environment.
We can't dwell on the past. Progress is in the future, and so we have to look forward as Native people.
I didn't know if you heard about Elizabeth Warren talking about 1024th Native American, putting that out there. What does that mean to you when she says that?
I think that's just a way of kind of having an advantage, being in a political position. Let me ask a question back. If I were, maybe in a different country, let's say Ireland, and maybe I had 1% and I was trying to claim the 1%. You know what I mean? Kind of like that. You know what I mean?
What would you say are the biggest issues right now facing the Navajo community?
Definitely language and culture preservation.
And realizing that it is something we need to preserve, and it's something very special and unique, something that a lot of people don't get to enjoy. It's a cool thing being Navajo and being Native American in this day and age.
Yeah. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Navajo is a language that was slowly dying, but thankfully more and more Navajo children are starting to learn it again. And the only way to preserve a language is not just by having it within your culture. You have to spread out that language. Navajo is a beautiful, like the Dina language is amazing. It's hard, it's really hard, but it's a beautiful language. And the only way to preserve that culture is if you teach people about it, if you show them the beauty of it, if you show them the dirty, the nasty parts of the culture, you know? You have to educate people in order to preserve your own culture. That's, like, I really want to hug every single one of them. Because these are people who should be mad for cultural appropriation, if there is a group. I'm not saying that they should, but if there is a group, like, these people should be on the top list to get mad. But they understand what it means that someone else wants to learn their culture. They understand how important that is. So I only have to say it's wonderfully put.
If someone were to dress up as a Native American for Halloween, what do you think about that? Someone outside of the community?
There's a fine line there. For me, there are totems, there are pieces of attire and regalia that are authentic and only meant to be worn during certain times or certain acts of ceremony. But, you know, if you go to Walgreens or Walmart or the Halloween store or, you know, a costume specialty store, you buy something that's obviously fake, I don't really have a problem with that.
You know, the symbolism of the headdress and stuff like that. And I can see how Native Americans traditionally, who may not see that as great, but as a young person like myself, I think that's a cool thing that we get to be represented.
But when you start mutilating eagles or sacred animals to make up your regalia just for a Halloween costume, then you're crossing a line.
Disrespecting the culture.
And this is also a wonderful point. The problem is not when you wear it. The problem is when you do not know why you wear it. And most of the time, if you buy the outfits from the actual people representing the culture, they're gonna tell you what you can wear, when you can wear it. It's exactly like, imagine Christianity, right? And during certain, if you follow the Bible, during certain periods of the year, you're not supposed to do certain things. Now, if you don't know about that, and you're doing it, you shouldn't get mad with them. You should explain to them why you shouldn't be doing that. It's simple as that. Just be civil. Don't start being like, oh no, this is cultural appropriation, you're an idiot for doing this, you're an evil person. No, just talk to them. Simple. Simple.
Exactly. But as far as cultural appropriation, mankind wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for cultural appropriation. At some point in our history, somebody took the idea of making fire from another culture.
And the Navajos were able to adapt and basically learn from the people that they were and able to integrate that into their own culture. So we were basically survivors. We take a lot of pride in that.
The thing I want to say is that a lot of people don't really understand that culture isn't a crystallized thing. It's something that's always changing. So to presume that it's a crystallized thing, or say any element of culture to be a crystallized thing and to enforce that, it's kind of folly.
It is.
It's kind of silly.
It's funny how you mentioned this, because the culture from like the 1950s is super, like, it has changed so much. It's completely different. So if I go in the 1950s, you know, dressed as someone who's dressed in like a suit and everything, just like those movies and everything represents, that's the culture from back then. There is nothing wrong with doing it back then, right? So why should it be cultural appropriation now? The guy said it beautifully. Without cultural appreciation, I'm gonna use appreciation for this. We wouldn't be where we are. Like, you and I wouldn't be wearing the clothes we are wearing. Why do you have a Marvel shirt? Are you American? How dare you take their culture?
No, it's retarded.
Like, every single day, you have people from every ethnicity enjoying Eminem, right?
Yeah.
Why isn't he blamed for cultural appropriation? He's a white guy rapping,
Yeah.
and rap music comes from the African Americans.
Yeah.
So isn't that cultural appropriation? Like, it's stupid to blame someone for something so simple. It's stupid.
And then the Navajo code talkers that were in the South Pacific Theater that used their Native American language, and they were instrumental in every marine action and all the different scattered network islands overseas. And I mean, it could have been any other people in the world, but by the blessing of the Creator, we were given and granted that opportunity to protect our homeland, which is America.
But I think it has become very unfortunate that we live in a culture and a society where outrage has become a recreational pastime, where people nit and pick until they find something wrong, and then they become outraged by it. And that, for me, I believe that hurts cross-cultural relationships. I believe it hinders us helping to understand each other. Now, here at the museum, I give a lot of cultural lectures and a lot of cultural tours. That's part of my job here. And I always start off every tour and every questionnaire session with, I'm very difficult to offend. And I believe that the most offensive questions are the questions that need to be asked and answered. Because that's the only way we learn with each other. Whether it's between religion, beliefs, cultures, gender, it doesn't matter. The most offensive things are sometimes the most important conversations to have.
I mean, I love the guide.
Yeah.
He is everything a person should be.
So like a true lecturer.
Yeah. And honestly, I love how beautifully he put everything from the, outfits that, yes, there are some outfits that you shouldn't wear because they're reserved for ceremonies.
Yeah.
There are some things you shouldn't do because they are reserved for ceremonies. But without talking about it, you'll never know. And I'm sure that most of the people who try to wear the outfits just to try out the culture, if they put on something they shouldn't put, it's not because they want to offend someone. It's not out of malice. It's just from not knowing. And the best way to teach a person, conversation. But for me, it was a beautiful topic. I'm not sure how you feel about it.
No, I agree with you. You have this one. The lesson that I learned early on in life. You have to leave the possibility of being offended on the table if you want to learn anything.
Yeah.
Like if you want to learn things in just strictly a safe environment, you won't learn anything.
Yeah. Beautiful put. But as always, let us know what you guys think. Don't forget to subscribe, check if you have. And we'll see you next time. Peace.